Is culture dead? It's a question that's been circling conversations for the past 2 decades, gaining more traction with each passing year. For many, it's more than just a provocative headline, it's a real concern. People look at the movies, music, fashion, and art around them and wonder if we're stuck in a loop, endlessly recycling the past. It's not hard to see why. Walk into a movie theater and you're likely to see a sequel, a reboot, or a remake. Turn on the radio, you're likely to hear an old 80s song. Vintage clothes dominate fashion trends, and vinyl records outsell CDs. In an era defined by advanced technology and infinite digital possibility, it feels like the dominant culture output is looking backward, not forward. Some point to 9/11 as the turning point. Before that day, the new millennium seemed to promise a wave of fresh, bold, and experimental creativity. The internet was just starting to open the floodgates of global culture, and the early 2000s were bubbling with possibilities. But after the attacks, something shifted. The trauma, fear, and political instability that followed left a permanent mark. In response, much of American culture retreated into safety, nostalgia, and familiarity. In times of crisis, people often seek comfort in the known. That's understandable. But what began as a cultural coping mechanism may have morphed into a long-term condition. Studios stopped taking risks. Networks leaned heavily on proven formulas. Record labels favored the familiar over the innovative. And audiences, shaken and unsure, often rewarded them for it. The end result? An industry built less around new ideas and more around the profitable recycling of old ones. It's not just movies and music. The visual arts have also taken a hit. The modern art scene is more fragmented than ever. Banksy's stunts generate headlines, but how many contemporary painters or sculptors can you name compared to artists of previous generations? Galleries have become more exclusive, more niche, and often disconnected from the broader public. Fashion operates in decades-old cycles. Streetwear is still pulling heavily from 90s aesthetics. Even social media influencers often build their entire personas around vintage looks and curated nostalgia. There's also a psychological layer to this. In today's world, we're inundated with content every minute of every day. TikTok trends rise and fall in weeks. Memes evolve faster than language. Attention spans are short. Virality is king. This has created a culture that moves fast, but rarely deep. Instead of innovation, we get iteration. Instead of masterpieces, we get memes. And while that's not inherently bad, it leaves many people feeling like we've traded depth for speed and originality for familiarity. But is this the full picture? It's worth asking whether culture is really dead, or just transformed. After all, creativity hasn't vanished. It's just harder to find amid the noise. Independent filmmakers, underground musicians, niche artists, all are still pushing boundaries, but their voices are often drowned out by the massive volume of mainstream content. In the past, culture was shaped by a handful of tastemakers. Today, it's decentralized. Everyone's a creator. That democratization is powerful, but it also makes it harder for singular, defining works to break through the noise. Another factor is technology itself. AI-generated art, deepfake performances, and algorithm-driven content have changed the creative landscape. We're entering an era where it's hard to tell what's real and what's generated. That blurring of lines can make genuine human creativity feel less special or even obsolete. If a machine can compose a symphony or mimic a famous painter's style in seconds, what does that mean for culture as a human endeavor? So perhaps the question isn't, is culture dead, but what do we expect culture to look like now? It may no longer come from a single place or reflect a unified vision. Instead, it exists in fragments, hyper-personalized, algorithmically tailored. In this sense, we're not witnessing the death of culture, but its disintegration into millions of microcultures, each spinning in its own orbit. Still, the sense of loss is real. There's a nostalgia for a time when culture felt like a shared experience, when an album, a film, or a book could shake public consciousness in a profound and lasting way. Those moments are rarer now, but they haven't vanished entirely. When they do happen, they often come from unexpected places. A viral documentary, a groundbreaking TV series, a bold debut album from an unknown artist. The hunger for new ideas still exists, we're just not feeding it as well as we used to. Ultimately, culture may not be dead, but it's definitely in transition. We live in an era where the past is constantly being repackaged, and the future feels uncertain. But history shows us that creativity has always found ways to adapt and evolve. The Renaissance followed the plague. Punk exploded after economic and political unrest. Jazz was born in the margins of a divided America. True culture often emerges from moments of pressure and disruption. So maybe we're not witnessing an end, but a rebirth in slow motion. Maybe the next great wave of culture is already building, quietly on the fringes. It won't look like the past. It may not be shaped by the same industries or platforms, but it will come. Because as long as people have something to say, culture will find a way to say it. Like, comment, and subscribe for daily history content.